Good morning, good morning, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Brilliant. That, it never works properly. First time, does it? That's good. It actually works. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first Argo CD community meeting of 2020. Woo! And the first ever Argo CD community meeting as well. Woo! I'm a bit excited. Maybe I've had too much coffee. Maybe that's the problem. So thank you all for coming today. The Argo CD meeting is an opportunity for people in the community to provide feedback on some of the work that we're doing. Also to get a preview of any of the new features or capabilities we have. And also a great opportunity for anybody working with Argo CD to showcase some of the work they're doing themselves. And I'm hoping we're going to get an opportunity for Isaac from Tesla to do a demo today. I pinged him earlier, so I'm not 100% sure if he's joining us, but that doesn't matter. We've still got some good stuff coming up.
I'm here.
He is. Oh, that's good news. I wasn't sure. So just a quick overview. This is going to be an Argo CD and Rollouts community meeting, and that's kind of the format we'd like to do going forward. I don't know if everybody knows what Argo CD and Argo Rollouts are, so just to quickly explain what Argo CD is. Argo CD is basically a GitOps solution for cloud-native applications, i.e. if you've got an application that uses Kubernetes and you want to manage your deployment configuration, you can pop that into Git, and Argo CD will do the job of getting your manifests from Git into your cluster. Argo Rollouts is a new type of deployment mechanism that allows you to do things like blue, green, and canary deployments, and also kind of experimental and analysis deployments, which are very kind of cutting-edge versions of a way to roll your application, which allows you to roll your application out to a cluster, take measurements of it, and then determine whether or not to roll it out to all your customers or to actually roll it back because it wasn't particularly successful. Okay. I'm Alex, and I'm one of the core developers on Argo. I work predominantly on Argo Workflows now, but actually I've also worked for the last year on Argo CD. And for those in the room, you guys probably know it's my 1-year anniversary in the United States yesterday. I didn't buy cake, and I meant to buy cake, so I didn't mention it. Thank you for applauding, Andy. If you guys have questions, the best place to ask the questions is in the chat room, and Mukulika will be monitoring that, and we'll probably have an opportunity for Q&A towards the end of this session. And people always ask this, are you recording it? Yes, we absolutely are recording it. And what we'll do is those recordings will be uploaded to YouTube, and you can share, and you can like and subscribe, and we'll pop them into the Slack room if you want to watch them or go back. And what I typically do is try and annotate those videos with what happens during the course of the video. So 5 minutes of preamble, and at minute 6, it's this, and so forth. So if you want to go back to a specific topic in this, then you can do that. I'm just going to scroll up this window here today. So just a quick overview of today. Danny, in just a few moments, is going to give a kind of an update and an overview of alpha support for Istio within Argo Rollouts, which is a fantastic new feature. Isaac is going to give a demo for the UI that he's built for at Tesla for auditing Argo CD applications that he describes as naughty applications. And then Alex is going to give an update on the GitOps engine progress, which I think we're all pretty excited about. And I don't know what this is. I meant to ask him about it, the dev infrastructure. Do you want to give like a one-liner?
Yeah, we're just trying to make it easier for external contributors to contribute, and dev infrastructure means dev instance of Argo CD and pre-release images of Argo CD.
That sounds good. Okay, good. Danny, do you want to take over? Do you want to screen share?
Sure. Yeah, I'll take over.
I will stop sharing, and you can take over.
Why don't you mute, and then I can.
Okay, I will mute myself because I will do that.
Hi everyone.
I will also do that.
Sorry about that.
God.
So I briefly wanted to kind of talk about the 0.7 release that we had for Argo Rollouts. My name is Danny Thompson. I'm an engineer at Intuit. I've been working on Argo Rollouts and Argo CD for the last year and a half. And in case you don't know what Argo Rollouts is, Argo Rollouts serves as a replacement for the deployment controller, and it intends to kind of provide missing strategies for the, or at least missing deployment strategies like blue, green, and canary, and then kind of enable this next level of continuous delivery called progressive delivery. And so Argo Rollout tries to solve that problem space. And so one piece of feedback we've gotten during our time with Argo Rollouts is that the canary strategy we have is very much focused on, or at least it does the traffic splitting by balancing the ratio of the new replica set that it owns and the old replica set. So the new one would be the canary and the old one would be the stable. And so when you would say 20% to canary, that would mean that we'd have to try to balance the number of replicas to get as close to 20 as possible. If you're running 10, that's really easy because you can do 2 and 8. But let's say if you had 2 pods, there's no really easy way to get to 20% with balancing pod ratios. You need more pods. And so that's where the service mesh comes in, because service mesh allows you to have those features out of the box. And so with this 0.7 release, we have a link to our traffic management section. The traffic management section.
Can anybody who is using service mesh in production put it in the chat that they're using service mesh in production?
So in case of you guys didn't hear that, Mukulika was asking if anyone is using service mesh in production. We'd love for you to put that into the chat, and we'll kind of go from there. But with service mesh, since there are a variety of different service meshes available, whether it's Istio, Linkerd, even the Nginx controller, which is kind of a service mesh, there are a bunch of different tools available to kind of do this traffic management where you can get that fine-grained percentages to your different pods. So instead of that problem I described earlier where you have 2 pods running and you want 20% to go to the new version, with Istio or any service management or service mesh tool, you can use the service mesh to route 20% to the canary version. And so just kind of a brief highlight of what the new YAML will look like for if you want to use Istio with rollouts. It's something similar to here. So you notice here we'll specify a weight of 5%, and then you'll specify what you call a canary service and a stable service. So these 2 fields are required, and these 2 fields are references to actual services, Kubernetes services. And so we use these as kind of the way of filtering traffic to either the canary or stable service. The replica counts here don't really matter, or at least the number of replicas behind these services don't matter. These are just 2 distinct endpoints that either route to the canary or the stable service. And then you'll notice here with the virtual service, we have a reference or a reference to a name. So here we call it a rollout virtual service. The reason, or at least one thing we were really taking into consideration when we implemented the Istio integration was that we didn't want to own the virtual service, which is responsible for splitting the traffic. Instead, we kind of wanted to take a route similar to HPA, where we just want to modify an existing virtual service, because otherwise we'd have to kind of modify, or at least we'd have to replicate the entire virtual service spec within the rollout. And then the rollout object would slowly get bigger in size, and that would basically kind of make the rollout into this monolith object that we didn't really want to do. So we wanted to kind of keep it streamlined. So here within the rollout, you'll specify this is the service the virtual service I want to modify, and this is the route within the virtual service that I want to use or I want to modify for the Canary rollout. And so then within a virtual service, you'll have something kind of looking along the lines of this, where here you specify a route. So this one is primary, and then you specify both the stable service and the Canary service. And so then when you do a rollout, the controller will modify these two weights based on the steps that you have listed above. And so at this point, that's kind of a high-level overview of rollouts with Istio support. Going forward, we'll want to add more service meshes, more service mesh support. So we definitely want to get in Linkerd with the SMI service mesh interface integration in, because I know that that will also get us other service meshes like Goo and SuperGoo. And additionally, we'll want to integrate with another tool like Nginx. And so that's kind of just a brief high-level overview of the service mesh integration with rollouts. And the only two other things I want to point out is one, with the 0.7 release, we also had a Wavefront integration implemented. And so what you can see here is a analysis template. What this analysis template defines is a way of basically verifying your next version of a rollout. And so here you can specify a query or a Wavefront query, and then when you create an analysis run, it will query Wavefront for you and get those results back. So in case if you didn't know, Wavefront is a time series database from VMware. It's very similar to Prometheus. And so we had an external contribution from engineer from VMware to contribute this in. So super excited about that. And then the last thing I want to briefly touch on is also we have the ability to write a generic web metric. Essentially what this does is it calls out to an endpoint that you specify, and then the result that is returned back, we process that result to evaluate if a metric is okay. And so that's just kind of briefly what I wanted to touch on with the 0.7 release. Any questions?
Mukulika, does anybody, I'm just aware that, Danny, firstly, do you have your microphone on? Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have your speaker on? That's the question I meant to ask.
No, I do not have my speaker on.
We can't hear you, so yes, that's good.
Speaker is on now.
The microphone and speaker on. Mukulika, do you have any questions in the chat room, please? Do you want to read any out?
The only question was, did we consider anything other than Istio? In Intuit, we didn't, because Istio being one of the leading mesh, but there are other people in the chat room who are using it in production. So SlingTV, Twilio, and ThousandEyes. So anybody else, did you guys evaluate any other mesh? I think we looked at app mesh also because we are on AWS, but we decided to go with Istio. And then
I think the question was also about integration with anything else besides mesh.
Yeah, that's the second question.
Okay.
Is there a timeline for integrating with Linkerd?
Yeah, so for the timeline right now, we want to get the service mesh interface, or at least we want to create an integration with the service mesh interface in 0.8. And from my current understanding, that would allow us to integrate with Linkerd.
Yes, and if anybody else from community can contribute, that would help, because we are not using Linkerd in production in Intuit.
Mm-hmm.
There is another question, Danny. Can you share how we would set up label selectors on the two different services, primary and canary?
Sure. So when a rollout creates a replica set, we attach a label to that replica set that is unique to that replica set. And so with these two different services, the way we kind of send traffic to the individual services is we add that label that's unique to that replica set to that service. So the primary service, we would add we call it the pod template hash. We'd add the pod template hash to the primary service. And then for the canary version, or the canary replica set, we'd add that to the canary service. And so that will help distinguish the two sets of traffics to the different services.
Any more questions? You asked Samuel's question. Okay, we've got a few questions. A lot of people keep asking them. I'm kind of a bit cognizant of time at the moment, and I'd like us to keep kind of moving forward with the demos. But if you've got more questions, drop them in the chat room, and perhaps Danny can answer them directly. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, good. So next up, we've got Isaac, and he will be giving us a demo of Argo-Audit. Isaac, are you ready to go?
Yeah, we're all set.
I don't know.
Hopefully you guys can see
Cool.
and hear me.
Crack on.
Cool. I'll share my screen in just a second here. So yeah, like Alex said, I'm Isaac. I work at Tesla as an SRE here. We've been using Argo CD and Argo Workflows. We've been using Argo CD since 0.12. So pre the 1.0 release, and very happy with it. Thumbs up. Thank you everybody for what you do at Intuit. So I'll just jump right into the tool that I helped build and kind of talk about some of the problems that we're trying to solve with it. So hopefully you can see my screen. Can I get like a thumbs up or yes, you can? You should see a terminal and then, okay, cool. So one of the things that we want to keep track of within Argo is auditing applications to make sure they adhere to our standards, which we consider best practices. So some of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you are slightly opinionated. So if you're familiar with Argo CD, you know that you can specify a target revision, which is like the branch in Stash or Get or whatever version control system you use. And for us, that typically means that we're targeting master. We consider master like the blessed version. And so if you're running applications off of master, that means that you've done two things. You've opened a PR and you've had it reviewed. Now, it is also the case that you can run non-master branches. And if you're running a non-master branch, that means it's not merged and it hasn't been reviewed. So that's the first thing that we're going to be checking for in this Argo audit application. And then the second thing is parameter overrides. These are kind of a blessing and a curse. It makes it really easy to change things on the fly, but it's not necessarily adhering to GitOps best practices, because what a parameter override is, it's saying like, don't use this thing in version control, use this thing that I'm defining in line as part of the spec. You know, it's kind of like hard coding. So we consider that a no-no as well. So those are the two problems we're trying to solve for. One, we're trying to find applications that are using unmerged code, which would be a non-master branch. And then secondly, we're trying to find applications that are using uncommitted code, which would be applications that are using parameter overrides. So hopefully that makes sense as to why we're doing this. So as a means to an end, I started off writing a little CLI tool that will just audit all the applications. Big shout out to Alex M, who wrote the Argo notification project. And so I basically just took my CLI tool, completely copy pasted all his code that was Kubernetes controller specific, and then turned my CLI into a controller, and then just slapped a UI on top of it. So I'll just jump right into this demo here. So here I have a test YAML spec for an application. You'll notice that it has target revision master, and then I'm going to be adding some parameter overrides actually. So let me just edit this real quick. So let's say instead of target revision master, we're doing foo. And then I'm just going to apply this to my Kubernetes cluster. Test.yaml. And then you can see that it was picked up by the controller right away. It was audited. It's found that it's using a non-master branch. If we come over to our UI and refresh, you'll see that it shows up in this list of naughty applications too. And now if we do kubectl get apps, you'll see that there's this one app. We can edit the app, edit app. This is going to be a little dangerous because I'm just going to edit the spec directly parameters. And then I think it's name equals something. And then value, you can just specify whatever. Let's see if that saves. Great. And then you can see again, the controller picked it up. It notices changes in your application. And if we did everything correctly, which apparently I didn't because I don't have the spec memorized, the parameters would show up in that column there. Yeah. So basically that's it. This is also linked to, these are hyperlinks to the Argo CD installation that I use. I'm not going to click on it because it's not going to go anywhere because it's just a test app. You can also do fun things like filtering. So if you have like a lot of applications that are not passing an audit, you can search for them by name in here. So that's really all that there is to this demo. It's super simple. Mostly I wanted to share to inform the community that these are things that you should be looking out for. It might not look the same at your organizations, but just be cognizant of the fact that Argo CD is a very powerful tool, and with great power comes great responsibility. So use it wisely. And to kind of like address a common question, this tool is not yet open source, but we're working to move it towards the open source. So if and when that happens, I'll be posting updates in the Slack channel about that. Yeah, so that's it. If anyone has any questions, I can answer them now.
It's on the chat, Isaac. The first one is, do you want to add more validations?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is a pretty extensible CLI, and we could add different flags that, you know, validate maybe like a naming convention. Maybe you have like a regex that you want to pass fail on. So that's something that we could add as like a command line flag, and then just another column here in the UI. I think that's a good idea. Like I said, this is a slightly opinionated, so it's going to look different for different organizations.
I think there's another question. Oh no, it's just a high five, isn't it?
Yes.
Shall I read this one out?
There's one more now from Biobox.
I'll read it out because Mukulika is far away from the speaker. If master is blessed, this is from Julian. If master is blessed, are you then using multiple repos per environment, i.e. master on each repo is blessed for its environment?
Okay, so if I understand this question, so master is like our blessed branch, and the question is, are we using multiple repos per environment? No. Again, this kind of gets into the opinionated section, but we use different values files for different environments. So there's not like a right or wrong way to do this, but for us at Tesla, we choose to use like a single trunk, and then we use different values files for different environments. But you'll see this differently at different organizations.
Cool. Okay. Thank you very much, Isaac. That's great. And we love to see stuff like this in the community meeting. We love to learn, to see kind of new ways people are wanting to interact and work with Argo. So do kind of always tell us about those. And if anybody else has anything that tooling they're kind of really proud of and they want to demonstrate at some point, or yeah, they think are interesting, you know, we'd love to see that as well. I'm now going to hand over to Alex M, and he's going to talk a bit about, give a bit of an update on the GitOps engine. I will mute myself now.
Can I get thumbs up? Can you hear me? Can I get thumbs up, please? If you can. Okay. You definitely can hear me. All right. I hope you do, because I see my mic is showing that I'm speaking. So I was going to give you basically just an update. There is no demo. So I'm going to talk about GitOps engine and some of the changes which we made to make contributing to Argo CD easier process. I will share my screen. You can see my screen, right? I hope you do. Okay. just to remind what GitOps engine is. So GitOps engine is a basically joint effort with Vive. So we're trying to collaborate with Flux creators, and Flux, I guess you know, is another GitOps engine which is used by multiple users as well. So we're trying to just, as a first step, we want to merge the core functionality of Argo CD and Flux, and GitOps engine is pretty much supposed to be that core implementation of the core functionality. It's been going on for like almost 3 months already. So far, no real changes in either of projects, but finally we are getting to a stage where we're about to make this change, and it became important because it's going to affect us a little bit. So if you open Argo CD repo, you will see the giant pull request, and it has like some changes in it. And idea is that we're going to move basically syncing functionality and move it into external repo, which will be used by Flux and Argo CD. I was trying to postpone it, the merge of that pull request, till the last moment. So it's kind of, I feel like it is stable already. Flux changes kind of also in a good shape. So, and I hope we will merge it maybe next week. And it is important basically because it is kind of explains why Argo team is busy, because we were working on it in the background. That's why it a little bit slow us down. And the next important part is that that pull request opens kind of a door for other disruptive changes. Basically, if you're a contributor to Argo CD, I wish we had Jan here. I don't think if he joined, but he had few of such changes, and we were holding to merge these changes. Now it's a perfect time. So once GitOps engine, changes are merged, we know, we will have bugs, and we will do extensive testing of everything. And if you have ideas of such changes, please go ahead and work on them as well. So we have another pull request to support cluster names instead of cluster server URLs. And I feel like it's a perfect time to merge this pull request, because even if we break something, we will be testing the whole project, from top to bottom, and we'll find all the bugs. So yeah, that's one update.
Anybody has any concerns? We really want your feedback.
Yes, please. So, and Alex C told me we have, well, we don't have much time. So I would basically, if you have any questions, please Slack them in chats. Okay. So
Don't rush it.
Yeah, so that's the first update about GitOps engine. Just as a summary, we're not going to make any user-facing changes. Argo will be the same, except we're now going to empower Flux, and that is going to be a driver for two teams to work together. And as a side effect, we're going to kind of break things for a while, test them, fix everything, and then get back. And hopefully we'll get same kind of contributions from Flux team. And we expect to get things like Docker registry monitoring and some security Git features like GPG verification, and hopefully I think it's called SOAPs feature to deal with secrets. So Flux has it, and they have a chance to contribute this functionality into GitOps engine. Okay, I just got a question from.
No, that's me.
Mukulika. Okay, Mukulika asking people.
So anybody using Flux for any cluster level syncing? All of you are using Argo CD for application GitOps, or you're also using Argo CD for cluster bootstrapping?
Okay, just to repeat the question from Mukulika, she's asking if anyone is using Flux for cluster bootstrapping. So please pass your answer in the channel. Yeah, I see one question is basically no, saying we use both Argo CD to do both.
Okay.
Okay, and all right, all right. The one thing I forgot to mention about the GitOps engine work is that we have a lot of useful changes in Argo CD right now, and I know some people waiting for those changes. We're going to release them first. So whatever, all the bug fixes which are available in master now will be released based on testing either by end of this week or early next week. Okay, so that's my update about GitOps engine. And there was one more change which I just wanted to share with, again, I guess, contributors of Argo CD. So we're just trying to find a way to make it easier to contribute. And the one change we did is if you open any commit which was merged to master, you can see that there is one job was executed named image. And what it does, it simply builds Argo CD image and publish it into Docker, so GitHub Docker registry. So the reason to use GitHub Docker registry is because we kind of, until now, we were trying to keep public Docker Hub of Argo project kind of clean. It has only, released versions, the official releases of Argo CD, and same for workflows and rollouts. So we want to kind of keep doing that. And right now we use basically GitHub Docker registry as a storage for throwaway images, basically. So every commit is now built and published into GitHub Docker registry, and you can use it if you want to get early access to some of the features. So that's one change. And second, so in addition to publishing, we also have this cd.apps argoproach.io instance of Argo CD, and that's available as in the read-only mode for everyone. And basically every published image is now automatically deployed to Argo CD, to that particular instance. So basically what you see here is master, and if you make a change, you can, once your PR is merged, you can test it within like 15 minutes using that instance. And my question for contributors basically was that, do you think it's useful at all? And there is obvious enhancement that write access would be useful to that instance, because if you make changes in sync, you need to trigger syncing to test it. And this is doable. We can configure it, but I just want to hear requests from someone. So if you want me to, kind of work on it and give you write access, I guess we can create like some kind of GitHub team of contributors who has, I guess, limited write access to that instance. Let me know, please, and I will be happy to do that.
I actually have an idea for this, Alex, just thinking, because I would like to be able to sometimes just spin up an application in like VirtualBox or something like that in such a way that it's totally segregated from everything else. And that's always a bit difficult. It'd be great if there was like a script you could run that just installed to manifest into a virtual machine. Doesn't necessarily need to be Argo CD, plus like demo stuff. Let's chat about this afterwards. I'm having some ideas.
Yep.
There's not the forum for ideas.
But we should discuss. Okay, that's all I had. So if you have questions about GitOps engine or this dev infrastructure, let me know, either here in chat or in Slack.
There is one question on the Slack about value files for help. Can value files reside outside of charts now?
This is, I know it's been merged to master. I think it's, the Helm has parameter -file. So yeah, answer is yes, but it is going to be released in 1.5, basically by either end of this week or early next week. Okay. There was one more question. Any progress on automatic image updating feature on Flux? So I know that there was some progress on Flux side. So they made that functionality kind of optional right now. And I don't think it's released yet, but the goal is to have a sidecar which you can additionally, optionally install along with Flux. And that sidecar will do the work of monitoring the registry and updating the repo. And I think that it's still Flux specific, but it's going to make it easier to make it kind of non-Flux specific and kind of we can use it in Argo as well, but that work has not been started yet. And I think it's just based on bandwidth. So I think it's in plans. We want to do it, but for now we just want to finish that first step. And that step is kind of important because that's the really first shared effort of two teams. Once it is completed, I hope both teams will be excited and it will kind of speed up. Yep. I'm done.
You mute.
Mute myself.
Double mute. Single mute.
Okay.
Let's see. We didn't get any feedback. Brilliant. Getting better at this. Okay, so that brings to a conclusion the three kind of updates and demos we had. Thank you to Danny and Isaac and Alex for providing those, particularly good. If you guys have any questions, obviously we're about to terminate the video, which will terminate the chat, so you can come and ask in the Argo CD channel on Slack. This video will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can watch that again in the future. And just thank you very much for everybody coming today, and have a wonderful day, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.